Hey guys, Adam Rose, Vice President, Senior Loan Officer of Western Ohio Mortgage here in Sydney, Ohio. Today is another episode of the Mortgage Guy Podcast. And as promised on last week's episode, I have a guest this week. His name is Jim Luana. Jim, thanks for coming on, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Yeah. First time. His office literally is right next door to this, so he might hear some of this stuff, but this is his first time venturing into this scary room.
Yeah, I've never been in here. I didn't even know what it looked like.
Yep. We keep the door shut, and mainly because Justin's cutout is in here, and every time the girls walk by, it scares the piss out of them. So, sorry, no offense, Justin. It's not the way you look. It's just when there's a outline of a human sitting in the dark, it can creep you out a little bit. Yep. And yeah. Anyways, Jim, he just came on board. It's been a full year. Actually, January 2nd or 3rd of 24.
Because you wanted me to come on a year ago, and I said I have absolutely nothing of benefit to share at this point.
Right, so we got a year under our belt.
A year in, I still have nothing of benefit.
So, well, we'll see what you got. So, Jim, and this whole video is to introduce Jim to the market, his experiences, why he joined, and a little bit about him. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, born and raised in Michigan, which is a big downfall. I know a lot of people
here. It's dangerous.
In the Ohio market, but I am licensed in Michigan.
I know a lot. I have so many friends that are just like Michigan fans that are from Ohio. At least he has an excuse, but I don't think he's a Michigan fan.
No, I don't watch much sports ball, to be honest.
Sports ball.
Nah.
It's like it was like on Big Bang when he raises up his shirt and he's painted "Go Sports."
Yes, exactly.
For all the support. Yeah. So, anyways, you're from Michigan. Continue.
Yep. Moved down for college. 2007 now. So I've almost been in Ohio as long as I was in Michigan at this point. So
you're more of a Buckeye than a Michiganite.
Yep. Came down for college and worked in agriculture for about 6 years, and we'll say operations and manufacturing, and then for another 6 years, local company in Minster, Ohio, and then made a total turn and went into law enforcement for a stint. And entered at kind of a late age at 30, comparatively to a lot of.
Yeah, I like the stories. There's not only so many stories you can share. Just for the record, I'm sure there's some stuff you can't share. But was on the SWAT.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
You allowed to say that?
That was cool. Yeah, no, it was.
I mean,
around not like it's all part-time teams and stuff like that. But yeah, that was definitely the highlight, I would say, of my.
You're not like in witness protection or anything. I can say you're like a SWAT sniper and shooting people from buildings and stuff like that.
Nothing crazy, but it was definitely an awesome experience to be a part of that. And it was definitely, as I worked through the law enforcement career, it was one of those driving factors of like, this is some pretty cool stuff that, I'm just glad I got to experience.
Right, right. Yeah. And the thing is, we deal with people all the time, and we all know my motto is some people suck. And you got to deal with people at their worst moments ever. Yeah. So if you can deal with that,
I would say
you can deal with this.
Well, in saying like I got into law enforcement at a later age at 30, I don't know if I would have been able to do it at 21.
Yeah. Might have scared you away.
Yeah, I think maturity level has to be there.
Sure.
It's a difficult job, but yeah, and it definitely prepared me for moving forward in my life. It didn't take me long to realize I didn't want to do that forever, working weekends, holidays, nights. Right. It makes
on call.
So I decided to look for a career that would be really, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and so I chose lending.
Yeah, and you found out it's really not 9 to 5.
No, now it's 24/7. Yeah,
so much worse. So yeah, so tell us. So what made you interested in our field? Because you came to us. Actually, we didn't find him. He actually found us, and kind of felt like he was interviewing us and not the other way around. If that makes sense.
Kind of.
So what first? Before we get to that part, like, what was the interest level? Like, what brought you? What made you interested in this piece? Like, what we do?
Yeah. So, I guess a long story short, and to kind of bring it into, the benefits of being a police officer was you get to drive around all night with nothing really to do.
Looking at houses and shit.
So I did a lot of self-education, though. So I listened to podcast after podcast, audiobooks. I think I had a record at one point of like all the hours that I've spent on audiobooks, podcasts, that kind of stuff, doing self-education. And so that really helped open my doors to, okay, what else can I do besides this can lead to financial freedom in some aspects. And that kind of dove me into real estate, investing. And then I thought, well, how do I get involved with everyone's deals? I can help them procure their money. So,
right, yeah. Yeah, there's money in procuring money.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and actually, it's kind of funny, full circle. My mom, she worked as a manager of a bank, and when I was growing up, so now I get to connect with her on this level a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, she's retired now.
Yeah. You know, and I just realized, sitting here, completely off topic, when I look left, my right side's my bad side. I look like I'm bald on this video right now, and it's a little annoying. So we're going to have to start switching and moving guests over here. So, yeah, you bought your first investment property in 21 and started researching it, and you're like, let's just dive in. So what was it like for you to find a lender you wanted to join? Like, what? I mean, we briefly talked. It's been over, well, you started, what? Interviewing in October of 23?
Yeah, it was actually August of 23.
Yeah.
I actually made that my first contact. I looked up, I reached out to someone I knew that was in the industry. Was actually August of 21. So it's taken me a long time to finally pull the trigger and move into it.
Well, I mean, if you're doing a career change, it's not something you're just like, I'm just moving on. I mean, that sounds like a hippie-ish thing to do, right?
No, it was very calculated. So,
yeah.
And you know, there's an entrepreneurial side of me that I was like, as I started learning into it, I'm like, man, this just business makes sense for me and my goals and what I want to do and how I want to help people. And then just the way the business lays out, it just made sense.
Okay. Yeah.
It just really appealed to me. But yeah, as far as finding, so once I got licensed, of course, you know, which is not an easy.
No, that's not an easy
task. It's only a 20-hour course.
Right.
It's
a big book you got to study.
Yeah, but it takes a lot more time beyond that to get past it. So after I got licensed, which took me a long time because I just wasn't sure on the market. I'm like, I don't know if this is a smart move at this moment in time. I was a little nervous about it, but finally I had a mentor kind of be like, you know, learn now while the market is down, and then, you know, ride the wave back up, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I started looking around at different options, very green to the industry, not really knowing what options are out there between, you know, independent mortgage banks, brokers, working for
banks,
an actual, you know, depository. So I started kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do in that regard, and you know, the independent mortgage bank lender, that's what I wanted to be as a loan originator. And so I actually went and spoke to a pretty large company, a nationwide lender, and I was surprised at the atmosphere. I'm like, it's very much the atmosphere I wanted to be a part of, like those type of people, where it's about moving forward. But the attitude I got from that interview was like, you're kind of on your own. Like,
yeah, good luck.
Yeah, like, yeah, well, you'll have some tools, and here you go. But we're not going to hold your hand, which, you know, I can respect that in a regard. But pretty much left that interview and got a return from you guys after I reached out about, you know, just in our local area, you're one of the top producers. Well, not only in our area,
in the state,
state, yeah, but top 40 under 40. But yeah, so it's like, well, this is
short changing me here.
No, I'm trying not to hype you up too much, but I'm like, man,
I'm not egotistical. I promise.
I have one of the top lenders here in my backyard that I could either try to go up against or I could try to join forces with.
Yeah. You're not allowed to leave now.
No,
I will destroy you. No.
So that's how I kind of went to seek you guys out, and then it was very much a whole different atmosphere shift once I got in here and talked to you and Teresa, and I'm like, these people, this is something that I can build with, not just good luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And he focuses mainly, again, you can go anywhere in the state of Ohio. Actually, I think you have your Indiana license too, don't you?
Indiana, Michigan. Yep.
Indiana, Michigan. We're pretty much everywhere we're licensed, but main focal points, we're trying to focus on that that Greenville, State Route 66 north to the lake, right?
Yep.
St. Mary's and
Mercer,
yep.
Dark County area.
That's our focal points, but obviously you can call Jim for any of your needs all over the state of Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. Actually, we need to land a little bit more Michigan business anyways. I got my Michigan license, and I got it because I had a deal going, and I closed it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to start marketing like second homes, vacation homes up on the lake because it's beautiful up there. Yeah. And then I just didn't, and then here I am. Holding the bag, paying for a license every year. So we need to spark that up a little bit.
That's very true. I don't know what it would take to get up there, but I thought I'm up there visiting family all the time.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm like,
dude,
just need to spend a week up there.
We just need to print you out some interstate mortgage business cards. So our DBA for out of state is interstate mortgage. And just imagine trying to sell a mortgage company that has the word Ohio in it in Michigan. Yeah. Good luck with that. So, no wonder I haven't closed a ton of business up there. But so your first years under the belt, right? First couple months, a lot of training, a lot of learning products, a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of shit coming at you.
Yep.
Now that you can reflect, how do you think your first year went? You know,
it's definitely. I would say there's a lot more stress than I was ever imagining would be involved. A lot of people think, again, to reflect on the law enforcement path is like, people think that's a very high stressful job, and it can be, but overall, it's pretty
boring.
It's 90% boring, and then 10% thrill and excitement. But but it's all pretty simple. Once things are slowed down, then you have time to make calls and make a decision. But yeah, coming into this field, I'm like, geez, I am more stressed out than I have ever been.
It might be your personality too, because I'm the same way, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter how much. It's not even about the paycheck. It's not about the production. It's because you actually care about the client and your reputation too, right? If you say you're going to do something, you hope to God you don't find something that sneaks up on you, and you get the job done because you made promises.
Well, and it's and I don't think stress is a negative thing in certain aspects.
Yeah.
So. That stress is almost self-induced because I care about, my clients, my referral partners, making sure the deal goes good, our company as a whole, making sure that, we're representing people correctly, we're getting the job done as we say we will. And so, there's a lot of stress that I bring onto myself about that.
Yep.
So that was part of it. And then, the other aspect of it is, we have a lot of freedom in this role. As a loan originator, not being chained to the desk 9 to 5.
Right.
So even when I feel like I have nothing I can do, I come in, I try to work my full day at the office, and that drives me to do something productive.
Right. Because freedom can get a hold of you. And that's kind of part of we talked about 3 pillars of focus that you try to do. That's lead generation, knowledge.
I don't know if I learned that somewhere or if I just kind of came up with it.
Well, there's a lot of coaches that talk about 3 pillars, 4 pillars. There's a bunch of different strategies behind it, and you could have learned that from anyone in sales in general, like one of the podcasts that probably stuck in your crawl there. And then, but lead generation, you're right. So when you're not busy, if you don't have a bunch of deals to work on, a lot of people, that freedom gets a hold of them. Right? They go home, they do chores, they do whatever they want, and they're like, it'll be fine. My phone will ring. But that's not necessarily the case, especially when you're at the beginning of your career, of which you've learned that there's so many prospecting activities about planting seeds, and it takes time to develop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, because, we just hit February. We're in February. February, traditionally speaking, in our industry, is the slowest month of the entire sales year.
For most people, it has been.
For most people. So that comment is because we keep score every week on how many contracts we have. So we're not going to talk about
that. It can only take so much beating.
So anyways, it's a motivational thing, right? Until he starts crying, and then I have to stop. But so lead gen is a big focus that you like to take
I would say for that first year, reflecting back, and that's something you and I think the first week I was here, we sat down and made a plan. And I still remember those numbers I wrote down. I think I have it on my desk still. If you want to do X amount of production, you got this conversion ratio. You need to talk to this amount of people. How do I get to that number of people?
Right.
And, there's also a quality of leads. So
we can go buy them, but they're garbage.
Yeah, you can go buy these random or you can develop, I think the organic leads that I've had from referrals from people, or even better yet, past clients. Agents are great, but also the best ones were past clients, because, they're directly affected by my performance. And so their recommendations usually carry a lot of weight.
And we always coach that because we are in a heavy manufacturing, blue collar community, right? So when we close a deal for someone that works in a factory, what do you think people are doing all day? They're not just quiet to themselves working. No, they talk to other people. They have friends at work. And what did you do? Well, I just bought a house. And that conversation starts. So that's why we feel our reputation is the biggest thing, right? I mean, if we do a good job, no one's going to be out there bad mouthing us, right?
Right.
But it's a great way to take care of your clients and get more business. And then industry knowledge was the second thing. How do you think that went in your first year? I'm
more lost than I am than I was day one. No,
there's a lot of scenarios, man.
Yeah, it's especially the first 6 months. I would think I would have somebody squared away, and then
something pop up.
Yeah, so and I would run it by underwriting, which is the benefit of our company, is having some amazing people that we can lean on just down the hallway.
Yeah.
And so I'd go take a scenario and be like, "Hey, I think I'm good. Can you look over this?" It's like, "No, because of this." Like, oh, that one totally blindsided me. Like, they didn't teach me this in that 20 hours.
I know, that's the crazy thing, right? So I always talk about, like, there's highways all over the place, and there's streets off the highways, and off each street there's these little alleyways, and it just keeps going, right? It just keeps branching off. You can open up one thing and find it as a problem. You think you have a solution, and then that one issue that pops up created 7 other issues. Yeah. It's just like stomping out fire. It's tough. Yeah, it really is.
I guess it was really a trial by fire in some of those. But I remember we went over, the very first topic was FHA handbook. Teresa,
read this.
Jeez, but
here's your training. Read this book.
I did my best. I locked in and threw in some headphones.
It's a lot.
Went through it, and
it's a lot. But you learn by doing.
Yeah,
you really do. And I try to tell that to people. A lot of people probably think our job's easy. It is not. Let me tell you, because there's just so much that goes along with everything between income and assets and pay stubs and self-employment and tax returns and IRS debts. Just things that pop up that we can't see through fraud reports with liens and judgments and just goofy stuff. And each product has a different guideline on each issue you run into.
Right.
Right?
It's funny. Like, I remember our first conversation, I was worried about, AI like taking over this.
No.
And the more I got into it, I'm like, there ain't no way.
No way. Nope. AI.
I'm not worried about jobs. There's so many different, I just was worried about the advancements of technology and how it may affect this role. And after getting into it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why this isn't going away for a while.
Systems and efficiencies. All right. So that was the third pillar that you talk about. How do you think you started versus the end of year one? Like, are there some changes that you made? It's like, listen, this is what I realized that I needed to start doing, and you made those changes that impacted your career a little bit.
So I would say, like, time blocking, doing some of that. So Monday through Thursday, I have certain tasks that I do every single day, and they're allocated to those days. Whether it's reaching out to clients, reaching out to referral partners, giving them updates, trying to generate leads by reaching out to new agents and building new connections. So definitely that's been a staple that's been it's been in there a little bit since the start, but it's definitely kind of crafted its way into a more fine-tuned schedule. Right. So I don't even have to look at it. I know what I'm doing on a Thursday. I know what I'm doing on a Wednesday. And it's not crazy. It's like, not doing 100 calls on Wednesday to new agents. It's just like, hey, this is a reminder to send out an introduction.
And that's part of coaching too, right? I mean, we talk about that kind of stuff, and time blocking is a big thing. And it's a big thing in any industry, especially sales, when you have all that freedom associated with it, because there's so much you can be doing to drum up business, and it's hard to remember it all. Like, I have a sheet, it's 5 pages, but it's Monday through Friday, of all additional things that I could be doing to make sure I'm touching base with clients, with realtors, the new referral partners, past clients, what have you, right? And that's what you need. You need a little bit of guidance there.
But yeah, as far as like the systems of laying that out, I feel like I keep going back to a more basic setup.
Yeah.
So we've talked about, I've reached out and tried some different programs and different apps and things to help track leads, make sure I'm doing a follow-up cadence, make sure so I've tried all this stuff, and what seems to work best is what I went back to now, is just writing a name on a date on a calendar when I first talk to them, and then I just keep looking at that calendar, and if I'll put a check mark next to them, like if they've taken the next step, or if they haven't, I know I need to keep in touch with that person.
I feel like that's the same case. So we keep advancing technologies. We have AI, we have CRMs, we have all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a little overwhelming.
It is. There's so much.
Because it can do so much. It's almost like I don't even know where to start with this thing.
Yeah.
And going old school, I'm a little old school myself. I still meet with the majority of my clients face to face. So I'm a little old school that way. And I feel like it builds a good rapport with your clients, and they have an understanding of the process a little bit better than just being the guy on the other side of a computer, on the other side of an email.
Yeah, because that is the benefit of our job, is our product is not on a shelf. We don't necessarily have to meet anybody in person.
Yeah, we don't have to.
You could do all of this 100% remote, but I think for the purposes of building those connections and long-lasting relationship and the organic growth, you can't be a face-to-face meeting with someone. And also, there's still a lot of people that would prefer to sit down, get to know you, and they're trusting you with a ginormous financial decision.
Totally agree.
So, yeah,
it's almost like buying a car, but you don't take it for a test drive.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
You're going to check it out, right?
Yeah.
So that's about all we got for you guys this week. But what would you say if a realtor's watching this right now and they're like, why should I send business to Jim? What would you say to him?
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
I feel like, at Western Ohio Mortgage, we have such a great product offering.
Yeah.
So we can compete with anybody on that. And then, of course, our customer service, top notch.
So what you're saying is that they can contact you on a Sunday afternoon at family dinner, and you'll take the call.
Yeah, most likely. I always say same thing. I tell them, my parents, they live up in Michigan. And they're like, I don't know when's a good time to call you. I'm like, just call anytime. Yeah. If I'm busy, I just won't answer.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
Yeah, I'll call you.
I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, there's the customer service aspect. I know everybody wants to say, well, mortgage banking, you can only sell customer service because you can't sell rate or whatever. You know what? Just stop. Yeah. If you think customer service is dead and it's not a good sales tactic or point, you are ignorant. Because when a client has a question and they need an answer, they want it now. And that's just the world we live in. That's why we have these damn cell phones that they can contact you anywhere, even when you're in the mountains of Colorado hunting elk.
Yeah.
Colorado, right?
Yeah, there was one spot on the mountain I had service.
Right. Trying to disclose this damn loan. But there's no service, just
that was actually the most stressful thing. Probably, like, anytime you go on a trip.
Yeah. I got a cruise coming up in a couple weeks, and I heard the Wi-Fi is spotty at best. So I'm really not looking forward to that. It's going to be stressful for me.
Well, and then, the otother good thing that I would say to agents, though, is I always reciprocate back. If
absolutely,
if an agent sends me, a referral, I talk them up. I make sure that
they go back to the agent because
that's happened to a couple of agents I know where they send me somebody and then I get a contract and I'm like, oh,
totally different agent.
Like, what happened? So I always try to make sure I solidify that relationship, not only for me and the client, but for the client and the referral partner. So,
well, it's so important because there are places where you could send a client to, and then they're going to try to push them somewhere else because they have a relationship with someone else where they owe somebody else, and that's very possible.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that we do not do. Is we will never push your client somewhere else.
Yeah.
You send them to us, they're yours. We're going to try our best to push them back to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had those instances where a client switched realtors, and I got a contract and didn't realize it until I got the contract. And I may have messaged the other realtor just to give them a heads up.
Yeah.
Say, hey, just want to let you know.
Yeah, I
not
feel
a fun conversation because, I mean, what are you going to do?
It's a responsibility that you kind of feel like.
Correct. Yeah. In this industry, just be honest with them. If you don't want to work as a buyer, if you don't want to work with that agent or you move on to a different agent, just have that conversation with them. That's it. End of story. They would appreciate it. They just want the honesty because they don't want to spin their wheels with you or feel like they're bugging you and you're not responding. You're ghosting them. So yeah, totally get that. So that's it. All right. I think Jim might have to be on more podcasts, and we'll talk about market updates and have something to bounce off of each other.
Yep.
What'd you think? You okay?
It wasn't too bad.
You didn't poop your pants or anything, did you? You good?
Doesn't smell like it.
All right, so he's good. All right, guys, that's it this week. Remember, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we'll catch you all when we get back from our President's Club trip from Mexico. Take it easy.